but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It's a happy Monday night. And look at the smiles on Lily and Holly and Alicia's faces. What a difference 3 points makes, Lily, isn't it? We're bouncing out of the weekend into the week. And Fulham getting beat as well. Just fantastic. What did you make of the game yesterday, Lily?
Oh, do you know what? Everybody was ragging me on Twitter. Oh, why would you want to put yourself through that? What, have you got nothing better to do on us? I was like, look, I don't start till late. I'm going to watch the match. I don't get to watch him very often. And I'll admit the first half I was a bit like, it's my fault. I'm watching. We're losing. It always happens. And then them 2 goals in quick, I was just like, oh, wow, what did I miss? Oh, my God. And yeah, I was buzzing at work. So everybody went, oh, you can tell Newcastle's won. She's proper bouncing off the walls, look. And I was like, yeah, we won. It was brilliant. And I got to watch it. So yeah, loved it. Bit controversial.
It was. It wasn't a great first half. But
no.
As I said yesterday on the live chat, the substitution changed it. Bringing ASM on, it freed everybody up and put them on the back foot. And it was the substitutes were made at the right time.
Yeah, almost definitely. It was, it was just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. It was. Dom said it was something like within a space of a couple of minutes as well. It was just like, wow. I was worried we were going to lose it at one point. It did look a little rocky. I was like, oh, here we go. Oh, we've done so well. Here we go. But no, well chuffed, happy with the win. And it just makes you feel better. Like I said, I was proper bouncing at work yesterday. It was just like, yes. Oh, I'm in a really good mood now, people. You can't upset me today. And even Dom was happy, and he's been miserable watching the matches for ages. So that was a plus as well. No grumpy husband is always a bonus in the house.
Alicia, you would have done your live, did you, yesterday?
Yes, I was actually happy for once. Not a great first half, completely echo that. But second half, for once, I'm going to praise Steve for his 3 substitutions. Absolutely nailed it with it. Obviously, we can see what we're missing in the midfield when Alan St. Maximin's not there. And Callum Wilson didn't have the impact I was expecting, but he has just come back from an injury that he's been out for a long time. So maybe he's holding himself back a little bit. But I think in the first half, we're still seeing this gap where Hayden was through our midfield. I think that's still hindering us. There is nobody who's come in and had the same work rate and putting foots in and tackles in the same way Hayden did.
Yeah, midfield's a bit of a struggle. I think you're right. I think a lot of criticism was coming in with the likes of Kieran Clark and Fernandez getting a bit of criticism, I thought, Alicia. But I just see the gaping hole in midfield. I see Shelby in there who hasn't got the legs. He struggles. Him and Longstaff don't play well alongside each other. And I think a lot of the problems still came from the midfield yesterday, right in the middle.
I really want Longstaff to do well. Of course I do. He's a local lad. You want him to do well. It would be the great story if he could come good and be that legendary player that we've had in the past of Geordies. I just can't see it at the minute. I can't see that what he had when he first came into the team. Something's gone. I don't know if it's confidence or something, but that first Sean Longstaff that we saw, the Sean Longstaff we've got now, isn't the same person. And I think you need somebody to build it on. I think Hayden could have brought him up a level. Unfortunately, he's never got the chance to really settle with him. And he's got Shelby, who has a good game in every couple. He's not the most consistent player that we've got, but there's times where it's always second ball with Longstaff, I believe. We'll get the ball back and then he'll pass it directly back to a Burnley player. I noticed a lot of that yesterday. He got the ball, got rid of it, and ended up on the counter attack with Burnley. So there is a massive problem in midfield. Defending wasn't as bad as how I thought it could have gone. Having Shelby as captain, obviously losing the captaincy at the back tends to be an issue. But it wasn't horrendous. It wasn't great, but it could have been a lot worse, considering how bad it has been at late.
Yeah, okay. Holly, you watched the game with me and the lads live yesterday on the Matchday Live. Look, it was as I said, it wasn't a great first half. The second half, and Newcastle turned the corner, and the substitutions came, as Alicia said, at the right time. And we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, what a win. What a massive 3 points for us now. I think that's the gap between us and Fulham's been for a while. It can only be a good thing, and it would have put a massive dent in Fulham's confidence. Hopefully now we'll see us marching on to safety, and that shouldn't be a worry for too much longer. And yeah, the first half, it wasn't brilliant, but to be honest, I think the second half made us forget about that, because just what a comeback from then. I mean, we totally didn't look like scoring at one point, and we were just thinking, where's the goals going to come from? And Bruce wasn't making his subs, so we're thinking, oh, it's going to be 65 minutes. He brought them on at a new time of 56 minutes, reverse now, and then it was the right time. Hats off to Bruce, he made the right subs. We were calling from it from the first half, and what an impact St. Maximin made. I think he just proved how vital he is to this team as an attacking threat, and I was really, really proud of seeing St. Maximin, how far he's came on as a player from when he joined us to now, because he would never have passed that ball at one stage. He was always out for himself, trying to get the goals for himself instead of doing the assist, and it worked out for him, and then he got that goal for himself, which was brilliant. I mean, Murphy was fantastic as well. Dubravka had a great game. Despite what Alicia said, I did actually think Sean Longstaff had a better game than he usually does. I thought I was quite impressed with him personally. Just a few players just had a really, really solid game. And of course, Bruce does deserve some credit for those subs, because there's one point where he would have just done what he wanted and not paid attention to what the right thing to do was, and he did the right thing for once. And I think that's why we struggled more in the first half, because the system, and we were playing so defensively, and against Burnley, that's just like, it's rubbish. Like, why would you play so defensively against Burnley? We're never going to get anything if we're just trying to cancel them out. And then we went to the more attacking formation, brought on better players, and we look like a totally transformed side. So happy days.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that, Alicia says, it's not the Sean Longstaff that broke into the team and Man United want to spend 20 million on. But I think we've got to remember he had a horrendous injury, and, he was out for such a long period of time. And then he came back and he was thrown in at the deep end, it has to be said, by Steve Bruce, and, basically then was blamed by his manager for the downturn in form. And ultimately, he's now having to play alongside Shelby, who is past his best years in the game. I think it's designed almost to make him look as worse than he actually was. So that would be my feeling on it anyway. I think Sean Longstaff will only grow in confidence. And Lily, I'll come back to you. I think Steve Bruce probably deserves a little bit of credit for patching up the differences in the dressing room, because we know it happens. It's a day-to-day occurrence in every football team up and down the country. Players fall out with managers, managers fall out with players, players fall out with players. It's usually kept under wraps. We've had a mole in the dressing room. All the stuff's been coming out of the dressing room, and it's clear that he fell out with Richie and he fell out with Longstaff, not one but two. He seems to have patched it up. He seems to have made his differences. Surely that makes him, he should get some praise for that from the supporters, for at least, admitting that he was wrong and getting those players back in the team. Because for me, there's been no doubt in my mind, Matt Ritchie was the answer, and now Matt Ritchie's proved that he is the answer to a little bit more success within the team. 4 points out the last two games.
Well, I'm biased anyway, because I love Matt Ritchie anyway, but it's the way I look at it, it's the same as when you're in a working environment. You're always going to have people that are butting heads. And once you've got them people butting heads, it makes it very difficult to work. And in this case, when it's your manager and the players, it's even worse, because he just didn't seem to want to do anything right for anybody. And he just seemed to be like, this is my team, I say, you do what I say. And he dealt with everything wrong, but obviously that's all settled down now. They've obviously had some sort of mediation, possibly, maybe, and somebody said, look, we can't keep going on like this, boss, because it's affecting the game, it's affecting how we play, and it's filtering out to the fans as well. The fans don't need to be hearing and seeing what's going on, in training. And it's nice to see the boys back. And I must admit, I think Sean did do all right, considering, you got a bang on the head and everything. But it's just nice to see that everybody is getting on now, and they all seem to be on the same page, kind of thing. Because for me, especially the second half, was a much better performance. And like Harley said, it's almost like Bruce is stopping to think, actually, no, this is when I need to be doing things, not panic and just chuck anybody on, So hopefully the fact that they're getting on better now in training will start to filter through, and the performances will improve. I'd like to think anyway.
There's the question from Darren. I'll ask it to all of you. Was it a penalty?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's simple enough. I thought it was a penalty as well. Alicia, Darren's question.
100%. Considering he gave the same thing in the second half as a foul in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah,
literally exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and it should have been a sending off in that case. Yeah. It's dangerous play.
And then you look at the Tottenham game for the goal that was ruled out for nothing. So it is mental at the minute what is going on with VAR. Not just us, in all the games. It is, you know, as people have been saying, as pundits have been saying, it is clearly ruining the game. Like, it's clear and obvious decisions, and that is clear and obvious. He kicked him in the head. Like, there's no getting away from it. As it was anywhere else in the pitch, it's a high boot. We found that out later on when he did exactly the same thing again. So how it isn't a penalty just blows my mind. But it's the Premier League. It doesn't surprise me.
No, you're right. It shouldn't surprise you. Holly, obviously, I think you're going to say the same as everybody else. But was it a penalty?
Yeah, it was definitely a penalty. His foot was far too high in the air and he literally kicked him in the head. That's such dangerous play. And I do think VAR is so corrupt and biased, and we don't mind it as much that we won the game, but if we hadn't, it would have been a different story. I think a lot more people would have been annoyed. And like Alicia said, how is that not clear and obvious? He literally kicked him straight in the head. Like, that's just ridiculous, really, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's absolutely clueless. And what about VAR, Holly? I mean, it's often mentioned and talked about, but I mean, it's been a bad weekend for VAR, hasn't it?
Yeah, I hate VAR. I think it takes a lot of the excitement out of the game. You're always hesitant to celebrate a goal because you don't know if it's going to get ruled out for whatever reason. And it does. Sometimes you'd have a decision that probably shouldn't have went your way, but it did. And it just added that element of a bit of excitement to the game. And now VAR's taken that away, which is just like a bit rubbish, really. And I can understand it in like big competitions like Champions League finals, World Cup. But in terms of Premier League games and other leagues, I just think it needs to go away because no one's a fan of it.
Yeah, okay. Ryan says, got to be honest, we have a decent result or two wins back to back, like Bruce says, and some of our fans just think we've turned a corner. It's 2 wins in 21 or something, so let's stay grounded. Tom, a bit more optimistic, says, a massive game on Saturday against West Ham. I'd love to see us beat them. Dave Harrison says, I decided not to go to archery to listen to Matchday Live, then had to go and give my daughter a hand with some garden stuff, and I missed the goals. Unlucky. Dave, hope you're having a better week this week, mate. And Alan Curry says, defence criticised first half, but remember 2 of them stepped out from spells out into a new style formation. Credit to them for sorting things out the second half. And I think obviously criticism again of defenders and talk of, you know, from Yano saying that he's been saying for months we win more games without Lascelles in the team. Lately, it's often something we've talked about on here about Jamal Lascelles. He's our captain though, and you know, for me, he is a bit of a miss at this moment in time. I thought we did look a little bit disorganised at the back. I don't think Dummett suits the back. I don't think Dummett fits the 3 at the back or 5 at the back formation as well as he does a flat back 4. And I think that's possibly why we looked a bit shaky as well. The fact that Fernandes was coming back in after a bit of a layoff.
Yeah, definitely. It's a tricky one because like I said Lascelles is the captain, and it's like most people, when he's on form, he's fantastic. But the last couple of games that he played, it was a bit hit or miss. I don't know if that's fatigue's creeping in because obviously the 2 iffy seasons are catching up with people. I don't know. Dummett, I mean, again, I love Dummett, but he made some howlers yesterday. I mean, Christ, he nearly scored, yeah, but in the wrong net, people. You know, it's just, what was he doing? And he's lying on the floor and he knows that he's made a mistake. So was that just because he was trying to kick it away? What was he thinking when he did it? It's just beyond me. I don't know. I'd like to see Lascelles maybe come back just to prove that he deserves to still be our captain because, like I said, when he's on form, he is brilliant. He just seems to have, I don't know, gone off the boil a little bit just recently. Maybe just needed some time off and he'll be fine when he comes back, who knows. But yeah, Dummett doesn't play well in that setup at all. So maybe Bruce will look at that and rejig it for the weekend. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, possibly.
Or just put names in a hat.
I prefer what he seems to be doing at the minute. He seems to be making the right decision. So whatever he's doing now, more of it, please. Yano says it's the wrong back 3. Fed playing upfield as a wing back is just stupid. Tom Dixon says, if it was me, I would start Maximin and Wilson on Saturday. Yeah, well, let's ask that question, Alicia. Would you start Maximin and Wilson on Saturday, or would you take your time with Wilson? We've got him back on the pitch, which is great. We've got ASM back on the pitch, which is great. We've got a little bit of a cushion now between us and Fulham, and do we need to put them straight in? Should we be holding them back for a more winnable game?
I think if we rush Wilson, we end up with a worse problem in the long run. It could lead to a worse injury. I feel like he kind of got away with one. It could have been a lot worse than what it was. I feel like St. Maximin could filter straight into a game. I feel like he could do it. I don't think he would complete a full game at the minute. I think you'd get an hour out of him. But do you want to leave him as that kind of, if the first half, we don't have great first half in general, do you risk it and try not to get too many goals behind you and then bring him on the second half and just totally change the game like what happened this week? Do you continue with that? But then at the same time, he seemed quite frustrated to be on the bench this weekend after watching his interview. After the game, he didn't seem happy being sat on the bench watching his team losing. So maybe he's got that fight from the off to come and make an impact straight away. And if he does that, brilliant. But I'd definitely risk Allen at the minute over Wilson. I wouldn't be starting Wilson. I think it's too risky at the minute. Yeah.
Okay. You, Holly, would you risk the two of them, or would you hold Wilson back for an easier game? West Ham, of course, chasing European football, and potentially it depends on what Bruce is thinking. Is he gonna risk him or not?
I'd start both of them, and then if Wilson's struggling, just take him off, because I actually think we'll win at West Ham. I know that they've been having a good season, but I just have a feeling we'll win. And I think that the 4 games that we have after the West Ham game are a lot harder. Obviously, we've got Sheffield United and Fulham at the end of the season, which you'd want them to be playing those games. But 4 games, if you rest them for those kind of games, then that's plenty of a break to come back for then. So I would definitely start them, because I really do think we can get something against West Ham, and especially St. Maximin. I mean, without him in the side, we looked really, really poor. He came on and it was just like a whole new team. I think it gave a boost to everyone. So I would want to see him in. And Wilson, I do agree that it's hard for him coming back from a long injury, but he did look frustrated on the bench. And then he said himself that he was trying to rush himself to get fit as quick as possible, doing double training sessions to be back to help us stay up. And that's what he wants to do. So if that's what he wants, then let him.
Yeah, fair play. What about you, Lily? Would you do the same? Would you play Wilson, or would you continue to treat him with kid gloves?
It's one of those, isn't it? I think, maybe start him, like Holly said, but don't play him for the full. Maybe just assess how you think he's doing, because like someone's put in the comment there, what's the point in keep resting them? There's no point in them turning up. They get frustrated or whatever. So I don't know, maybe start them and just see how they go, and maybe substitute them in the second half. Don't do them a full 90, because then obviously we all know what happens. That sometimes leads to more injuries, which is the last thing that we want. But if they're going to get playtime, then they're going to walk off the cobwebs a bit, aren't they then? So start them, but just keep an eye on them, I think.
Yeah, David Reed, who's been Mr. Optimistic, I would say. He's kept everyone's spirits up in the chat. He's delighted at ASM's goal. But well done, David. You were right. You said we wouldn't go down, and so far so good. The last 2 results have certainly been a lot better. Judy Baker says, when Saint's engaged and in the mood, he's on another level. We just have to keep him in that mindset. And Paul Gibson says, evening girls and Steve, what a difference a weekend makes. Great second half performance from ASM, and Dubravka was excellent, proving he is the number 1. Yeah, I'll start with you, Lily, on that. Dubravka, fantastic game yesterday. Although in the chat, Kieran was getting a little bit aerated about him punching the ball, but I think it was probably wise, because Burnley do have that habit of dropping the ball in on top of the goalkeeper and under the crossbar and making things difficult. So I think that was probably a tactical decision by Dubravka, but he certainly came into his own. And I think Paul makes a valid point that he's proven why he is the number 1 goalkeeper at the club.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I saw somebody put on Twitter that actually, not taking anything away from ASM when he come on and he was amazing, that maybe Dubravka should have got man of the match, because, I mean, all right, you let a goal in, it was a bit, but some of the saves he did, and like you said, all right, so he was punching the ball away, but he did save our bottoms, on quite a few occasions. He worked his socks off. I mean, Dom said he was a bit shaky first half and he was slating him left, right and centre. But I think he did all right in the end. I mean, at one point I did giggle because it looked like he'd swung around the goalpost. It looked like King Louis from the Jungle Book because he's gone flying round. I was like, oh my God, he's going to fall over. What's he doing? But no, I think he did really well yesterday. And yeah, I think he definitely deserves the number 1 shirt because he shouts as well. I don't know if anybody else sees that. He's like he's commanding the players as well. And it's nice to see that because not a lot of even our captain doesn't really do that. So no, I like Dubravka. I do think he should be the number 1.
Okay, Alicia, what about you? Dubravka back to his best yesterday.
Oh, it's great to see. Completely deserved. Shows why he deserves his place in the team, and he was absolutely brilliant. And he really, really, again, as Lily said, saved us in that game. He's been so crucial at games in the past, and we know what he means. And, you know, if we could get that defence sorted, I think we could have a solid defence with Dubravka behind him. I just think the Paul Dummett issue needs sorting because I feel like he panics a lot. But with Dubravka behind them, that's got to give them some confidence, knowing that you do have a kind of backup option. If you mess up, you've still got him behind you. And he pulled off some amazing saves. And you know what? I agree. I was surprised. You know, a goalkeeper never gets man in the match, but I wouldn't have been surprised. I know Alan got it, but if they did give him it, I wouldn't have been surprised. And I feel like if he was in a top 4 team, everybody would be raving about him being the best goalkeeper in the Premier League and all this. But I feel because he plays for us, he doesn't get recognised for what he actually does. And I don't think many pundits really pick up on it either. I don't think he gets as much praise as what he deserves.
Yeah, fair enough. Holly, same for you. Dubravka, number 1.
I've never questioned him being the number 1. I think he 100% deserves it. Even when Darlow was playing at his absolute best, I always preferred Martin Dubravka. He is my favourite player at the club as well because I just think he's excellent. He could be a captain for me. I know that you don't really give the goalkeeper the captain's armband. Normally it's not something people prefer to do, but he's just outstanding all the time. Sorts the team out, 100% effort, so passionate. And the amount of times he saved us in a game, and he was phenomenal in that game. He was really, really just good. He certainly saved us, and the amount of times he's done that, like Alicia said, I mean, he could play for any Champions League top 4 side and he wouldn't be out of place at all. He does go massively unnoticed, and I'm surprised a big club hasn't came in for him, but I do think he really loves it at Newcastle, and I think he'd like to stay here. And of course Martin Dubravka definitely deserves the number 1 shirt.
Roger Cook saying, no, it was Fulham saying Fulham on the danger. West Bromwich Albion are. They are 2-0 up against Southampton. Roger Cook saying, no offence to Alicia, but I'm with Lee on the Sean Longstaff situation. Paul Gibson says that VAR needs scrapping. West Brom had a perfectly good goal just chalked off, and the Longstaff penalty was a joke. Thank God it didn't matter in the end. So yeah, I suppose VAR it certainly needs to be looked at or improved in the summer, I think, before the new season comes in. Gary Milligan about that as well. Lots of comments coming in about that. Says that's only a penalty for the top 6. I don't know if it's only me, but them decisions always go against us. No, it's not just you. Phil Davison suggested Richard Masters was probably doing VAR for our game yesterday, and Graham Coleman said, yes, somebody had tweeted that. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The VAR situation, Lily, it got rushed in for me. I just don't think they gave it enough time to be looked at. They only tested it in certain games, and there was cup competitions. I think it was the FA Cup it got brought into, but ultimately it just needs addressing, doesn't it? The handball situation's crazy. You play a ball off someone's hand now and it's a penalty, and I just don't know. It just doesn't seem to be the right people looking at VAR at the HQ. A lot of people saying we should have ex-players. I mean, is that something you'd like to see, an ex-player in charge of VAR?
Well, I did see somebody put something on Twitter about how it's not VAR that's the problem, it's the idiots that are watching the VAR. Because obviously it's them that decide whether it is or not. And the fact that even all 3 pundits at half-time all said that it should have been a penalty. Because I even tweeted, did Jamie Redknapp just say that should have been a penalty? Is he feeling okay? Because he's always putting us down. So I think, yeah, why not possibly get ex-players? Because if all 3 of them sat there in that studio, who very rarely are on our side, can all sit there and say, yes, it is, then why can't the people actually watching the VAR itself say it? I think, same as you said, it was rushed in because they thought we needed it. same as Holly says, it stops the player things. Is it a goal? Isn't it a goal? Can we celebrate? Can we? It's ridiculous. They need proper people, or people train on it properly, so that stupid situations like that don't happen. It's silly. It really is. So I think ex-players should do it.
I think so. You'd also get people accused of bias, though. If you had, I don't know, Roy Keane doing a Man City game, for example, it would have to be done properly. Otherwise, he'd be given all kinds of decisions, you would imagine. But I think so. I think there certainly needs to be something done. I mean, at least you've got goal line technology right. I mean, that was a big thing that they brought in, and that's been massively helpful, because we've seen many games where balls have crossed the line, TV picked it up, but because they didn't have goal line technology, it was missed. Teams have been relegated because of that, and it's big money when you get relegated from the Premier League, and it's, as we know from our own experience, it's not as easy to get back up. But there does need to be something. Do you think, and we mentioned this on Matchday Live yesterday, do you think it would help if there was maybe a link from the referee and the officials to the TV gantry, so that we actually heard what the decision was and why it was being made? Do you think that would help?
I think it would make them think more about what they're doing if they know they have to answer for what they've done. So say, like somebody brought up, like referees doing interviews after games and explaining the decisions that they've made. Why shouldn't they be doing that? I completely agree with it. You watch the rugby, you hear what the referees are saying during things like that. So why don't we get the same thing? Why don't we get to understand why decisions are being made? But we get statements from them saying why they've done this decision. Well, no, I want to hear from the referee why he made that decision. I think if you're going to use VAR, I feel like the pitch side television screen needs to be used a lot more, so that the referee who's actually refereeing the game can see what's happened. Because fair enough, if they don't want to give a penalty for it and he didn't want to give a penalty for it, you need to be aware of what that player's done in the future. Is he going to do it again? Do you have to warn him for it? Things like that. You've got to keep an eye on players and what they're doing. So maybe you're not going to give it as an outright penalty if it's not clear and obvious, just in a general penalty. We're not looking at yesterday's. But there should be, one, held to account for what they're doing, and two, there should be more involved in it, not somebody in a van somewhere going, no, that's not a penalty. They should be able to make a decision, and they should be able to say what they want more often and stand up and that's what they're getting paid for. They're a referee, make the decision.
Yeah, fair enough. I agree with that, and I think, but I just think a bit of technology, if it could be used where they're mic'd up, and you just said rugby. Rugby's a prime example, Alicia. That we hear it. If you watch rugby, you hear the referee, you hear the decision, and it just makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? It just at least it would make us feel a bit better if a decision is awarded, and it would stop everybody, speculating as to why a goal's been disallowed.
Yeah, I think that's what needs to be taken out of it, to clear up the fact that there a bias to certain teams. Because if a referee has to justify why he's done something, it takes out that kind of conspiracy that, teams get kind of one up on another. And, even we've seen it, that should have clearly been a penalty. Maybe it would have been different if he had to justify his actions and say, well, I didn't give a penalty because... Well, I don't know, because it was a high boot and it was a penalty, but he would have to justify why.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say, Holly? Would you agree with maybe bringing in some new technology? Would you like to see it scrapped altogether? I mean, what's your view on VAR? Because I heard an interview with Jose Mourinho, and he's not the first to say it. But it spoils the spontaneity. He doesn't celebrate a goal anymore in case it gets choked off. Fans can't celebrate, because ultimately you have that situation where it then goes to VAR. You're waiting, and then if it's not given, then it's deflation. I mean, it's just taking away the spontaneity of football. And when we all get back into the ground, which undoubtedly we will do at some point, it makes for an awkward atmosphere.
Yeah, in an ideal world, I would get rid of it 100%, like just have it gone, because I hate the way football's being modernised, to be honest. I hate all the new technology and all the rubbish. I just think it should go back to how it was, like, back in the day. Like, I think it was way better then, but of course it's not going to happen. That's not the way people want to run it anymore. So I think it's here to stay, but they do need to sort it out and fix it. Like you said, it's a brilliant idea to mic up the people who are running the VAR so we can actually hear what they're saying, and they need to explain why they're making that choice. I do feel bad for the referees sometimes because they kind of get undermined in a way, because sometimes they'll make a decision and then they're kind of told that their decision's wrong by the people on VAR, and some of these referees have been doing it for years, and like if that was me, I'll be so annoyed. Like it's just really disrespectful, I think. But the goal line technology is quite good because, of course, like when we played Everton, I think it was last season now actually, and of course that goal was over the line and Jordan Pickford hit it back out the goal, but we got given it because it did cross the line, whereas if we didn't have that technology, that wouldn't have been allowed. So it can be good sometimes, but they really do need to sort something out with VAR, make it a more fair process, like have ex-players working on it, or just something, because the people that are currently doing it aren't good enough.
Yeah, Gary Milliken says the most annoying rule for me is the offside rule, letting play carry on, then the linesman puts his flag up. It really boils my expletive. Roger Cook says there's no escape if we try to follow that honesty of rugby or even cricket. Yeah, obviously they have it in cricket as well. I forgot about that. Bede says thought our defence struggled the first half but got to grips with Burnley's long ball tactics the second half. Dubravka and ASM were the star men for me. Gary says, good evening, Stephen. Ladies, how is it in football? We can all hear some commentators, but in other sports, you can hear everything, what other people are saying and where it lacks in football. It's different rule for football to other sports. Roger, I think it's been going down this road for a long time. He says, we don't want to end up playing the equivalent of American football, do it? I'm afraid that's the way it seems to be going. With the Premier League, with the money, the most important thing to the Premier League is money and advertisers. And, the more advertising, the better. And look at what happens with the Super Bowl. It's absolutely ludicrous. No consistency, says Yano. Where was VAR on the Kane offside goal against us? And Lee G says, I'd rather lose to VAR than to lose to something like the hand of God again. Yes, it's not perfect, but it will improve. So a little bit of support for VAR in there. It'll always cause controversies, especially, I suppose, if you're on the end of it. Big shout out to our sponsors, as always, tonight. First off, Spider VPN, who've been with us for the last 3 months. For all your internet technology and security. Get onto them, get onto their website and take a look. Also, a big shout out to Arcot Interiors, and you can find them at arcotinteriors.com. Give them a ring on 0191 265 8663 and drop them an email, enquiries@arcot.org.uk. They're based in Newcastle and in Whitley Bay. Also, a big shout out to the lads at qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and other things as well. And Jab Signature, who make all of our flyers. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And that's it. It's free to subscribe. Hit the like button, which is the little red thumb underneath, and hit the share button and share the video to your other social media, and drop into the comments and have a chat with everybody on there, and put your questions in there as well. You can join in on the comments section. Big thanks to everybody for your continued support. We hit 39,000 subscribers this week, and as I say, we never ever take that for granted. Tuesday night show and Wednesday night show won't be live. I'm away as from tomorrow. I'm working away in London for a couple of days, but I will be back on Thursday to do Super Mac and Gibbo live. But I have recorded the shows, so me and Liam have recorded a show tonight, and I've also recorded the retro show with the lads for Wednesday, which will be Luton Town. We had a right laugh with that, because try and find players that played for Luton and for Newcastle, it's very, very difficult. Also, try and find some games that were played against Luton, which were exciting and which had goals in. That's very difficult, but it's well worth a watch. Still plenty of humour, still plenty of recollections, and some great stuff as always from George Mitchell. Keith Rowe, the VAR thing is just flying round lately. Sadly, I think it's too late to get rid of VAR. Too much has been invested in the last few years. Only hope that it gets better in the next few years. I'm right though, aren't I? I suppose VAR is great if it's not going against you.
Yeah, it's like I always say, it's most things with modern technology. It's brilliant if it works. And in this instance, it was very strange. And like you've said, if it's going against you, then it is annoying. But clearly it's the people that are watching it So is it a case of keep VAR, but train people properly? And like Alicia said, there's a screen on the side of the pitch. So why didn't the ref go and double check that anyway if he was still a bit unsure? You know, everybody's saying it. And as far as I know, that's what the screens are there for the ref to also check if there's an issue with regards to. But also, like everybody else has said, why can't we start doing the connection where, like, the managers are, I don't know, mic'd up to the ref, and so that there is communication? Because they could say, well, no, actually, I think you do need to double check that yourself, because you can blatantly see what's gone on. So it's, I don't know, I think it just needs to be looked at and tweaked. Maybe they're not going to get rid of it. That, you know, that gentleman's right. They have spent too much on it now. It's not going to. But then again, like Alicia said earlier, something new enough, exactly the same thing happened later on in the game, and he was given a free kick. So how can you justify the two different decisions? To me, if you're going to keep VAR, you need to keep it so it's just constantly the same. You can't keep chopping and changing what is and isn't allowed, what should or shouldn't happen. And I found that they've done that a heck of a lot this season. What was the right decision at one match wasn't a decision at another match. So how can they justify? There's no I can't think of the word, but it just doesn't seem to be the same. That's the one. Consistency. There just doesn't seem to be any of that. And no, they need to definitely look at, right, so if this is allowed here, why isn't it allowed here? I think they need to go back and possibly re-look at it themselves so it makes more sense. And then hopefully it'll be better next season, because it's just shocking at the minute.
It is. A lot of people in the chat, Lily, talking about West Brom, saying we should be concerned about them. They got a decent result last time out. Sam Allardyce has also got a bit of a track record for the Great Escape. He's done it with a few teams, including our nearest and dearest at Sunderland. Should we be concerned about West Brom rather than Fulham now?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because, like you said, he is quite a magician when it comes to these kind of relegation. He seems to pull it out of his hat at the last minute. So I think possibly, maybe, I think he could. I think the problem is we've been so centred on Fulham that we've not bothered looking at anybody else who's possibly coming up. And I think maybe we should be watching out for them as well. I think maybe they could be a bit of a.
Okay. So West Brom win tonight. Let's say they win tonight, they go to 27 points. Okay, so but they'll have played. That's 30. Was that 31 games they've played now? This will be 32 once they play tonight. So yeah, 27 games, 32, and we'll have a game in hand. They'll have 27 points. They're 5 points behind us. It's still a bit of a cushion, isn't it? That's the beauty of getting that win yesterday against the team that was around us. Normally we don't do that. I guess lately, we just need to concentrate on our own results, don't we?
I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to stop worrying about others and just because as long as we can, like I said before, you'd have been happy for a point here, and that we can't be doing that now. We can't be dropping points. We need to stay consistent now and keep performing, because if we start dropping points, that's when they're going to leapfrog and catch up. So I just think we need to concentrate on ourselves. Obviously, we're going to be watching and seeing what they're doing and performing and stuff. But no, I just think as long as the boys keep their head in the game and perform like they did in the second half yesterday, then hopefully we'll stay and keep going. Keep the momentum going.
Burnley aren't out of it now because of that result yesterday. They were on 31 games played. They've got 33 points. Brighton, of course, play tonight. They're on 32 points. If they get beat tonight, they're still in it. There's still a few teams in it. And somebody was, I can't remember who was mocking him, mocking Steve Bruce the other day, saying, he's saying there's still 7 teams in it. Well, yeah, if you count the teams below us, Sheffield United, West Brom, then there's Fulham, then there's Newcastle, then there's Brighton, then there's Burnley. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 teams in it. Are Southampton out of it on 36 points? Getting beat again tonight off West Brom, depending on how that goes. Yeah, potentially 7 teams. Southampton, I suppose, they didn't win another game. They're still on 36 points. They haven't hit the magical 40 points, and I suppose they could get dragged into it. Alicia, should we be worried about West Brom, or are they just the same as the other teams around us? Sheffield United, they're written off. If West Brom win tonight, have they given themselves a fighting chance?
Well, I said a couple of weeks ago, and I said it on the predictions one, watch out for West Brom. I did say
You did.
I think because we won against Burnley, I don't think it's as much of a threat. I think there might be too much of a gap, but I could easily see them going ahead of Fulham. I could see that happening. Hopefully it doesn't get that close so they can't catch up to us. But I think if it was anybody but Sam Allardyce, I'd go, yeah, West Brom, they're not going to catch up. But I think it's the trauma of Sam Allardyce and Sunderland that just makes me so wary of him. But as I say, if it was anybody else, I would have written them off. But the fact that it's Sam Allardyce, this is what he does. I'd be wary, but I don't think it's a real threat.
Yeah, I've got it. Actually, the way that they've done it, they've actually added the points on already. I wish they wouldn't do that on this Premier League table. So actually, they'll only be on 24 points if they win tonight. So they're still comfortably. They're still comfortably behind. That's the way it works. So I mean, they're still going to be 8 points behind, and they'll be level on games. So it's still too big a gap. I think I just can't see West Brom winning every game. They're more or less going to need to win every game, and Newcastle's going to need to lose every game. And we've got to play Fulham. We've got to play Sheffield United. I still think we'll pick up 4 to 6 points out of those 2 games. So I'm not too concerned. But yeah, look, you win your games, Alicia. You win your games. You just concentrate on winning your games. Nothing can go wrong now.
I think that's a problem Newcastle teams of the past have had. They focus too much on what's going around them instead of what they're actually doing. And we go, right, it's fine this week because Fulham have lost, so we don't need to really try. If we focus on winning our games, that's what keeps us up. Not looking at what Fulham are doing, not looking at what West Brom are doing. We went out, we beat Burnley. We look at it like that. We go out, we won 3 points, but say West Ham, we get a point. Brilliant. As long as we keep getting them, we'll stay up. I think we're going to struggle this weekend against West Ham, being honest. But if we get something from it, great. But don't be looking over our shoulder every week at Fulham. Focus on myself.
Yeah, focus on myself, I suppose, is the message that Alicia's pointing out there, Holly. And I would say the same. Just win your own games.
Yeah, I'm not worried about West Brom. I think we were more than right to look at the results in and around us before these past couple of games, but now we seem to have turned a bit of a corner, and if we'll keep up with the fight that we've had in the past couple of games, then we should do enough within ourselves to stay up. So we just need to focus on that and not try to worry too much about what other people are doing, because as long as we pick up the points, then they can't catch us.
Yeah, very true. Dom says, do you think it'll go to the last game against Fulham now then, Holly?
No, not for me. I think that we'll be safe soon. I think one more win and that'll see us safe, and I do think we'll get that win against West Ham. I don't think Fulham are going to win many more games now. I think they've seen their bit of luck run out, and I don't think West Brom are going to go on an absolutely invincible run either, and they're too far behind us for me. So no, I don't think it'll go to the last game. I think we'll be safe before then.
I know he could have just shouted in up the stairs, Lily, but do you think Fulham? Do you think it's going to go to the Fulham game?
I think he's put that because I keep saying that I can feel it, that is what it's going to come down to. And I've said with you guys before, and it's Mitrovic that's going to score the goal that takes us down. After this weekend, I'm not as sure that that's what's going to happen. I think Holly's right. I think Fulham have they had steam in the boots, and now it's just gone, and they're panicking a bit. So. No, I don't think it is now. I think Fulham have lost it, so we're in a better place now than what we were before. So
okay, Alicia, same question to you. Is it going to go to the Fulham game?
Yeah, I don't think it'll go down to the Fulham game, and for my own sanity, I hope it doesn't go down to the Fulham game, because I don't think I'll be able to watch. But I'm hoping and praying that we'll be safe by then.
Okay, let's just change things around a little bit and talk about something which isn't exactly football related, and it is the topic on most fans' lips at the minute, the 1892 pledge, which you can find out a little bit more about at the 1892pledge.co.uk. Lily, come to you first. What was your thoughts on it, and are you going to be somebody who pledges?
I am actually, because I must admit, me and Dom have talked about this before, and I think I may have mentioned it on the show, or I've always said, why can't the supporters start, putting a bit of money in a kitty together and seeing what they can do with it. So yeah, I am most definitely going to be putting some in, and possibly a bit for Dom too. But no, I think it's a really good idea, and it's something I'm going to be pledging, most definitely.
You're going to put some of Dom's money in, did you say?
Yeah, I'm going to put Dom's money in too. A bit more than me.
Dom's pocket money, that's his beer money. The bars are just opening, and Lily's putting Dom's beer money into that. Alicia?
I think in terms of on paper, it's a good idea. I think it's a nice thing if fans could have that even 1%, the club is for the fans. The players play for the fans, they play for the shirt. I like the idea of it, but I feel like it could, not to be negative, could cause problems of who gets picked to put these things forward to the club and things like that. You know, we can't even agree on Twitter half the time and YouTube and things like that. Does it create more problems of, well, I don't want him speaking for me, or I don't want her speaking for me? Does it create that kind of problem? So you've got to look at it both ways. I like the idea of it. I like having that little bit of my own. Like, I feel like clubs done in the past where you could like buy bits of the pitch and things like that. It's kind of like that kind of thing. It's like having that little bit of ownership of your club. I like the idea of it. It's aspirational. You know, it's a lot of money that we're going to have to raise. But I feel like it's got positives and negatives attached to it.
I think that's a really, really wise way of putting it. I mean, ultimately, that is one of the big problems, you know, representation of supporters. And, you know, it's something you quite rightly point out that people argue about it. Some people will twist on 21 on Twitter about all kinds of things. There's been negativity about winning a match yesterday. And you know, some people will just twist about anything. But I will say that you are 100% right. People will always argue. What do you think? And I'm going to hopefully ask somebody from the trust this in due course. But what do you think about the fact that if you pledge, so you pledged some money, let's say that you decide to pledge, I don't know, £20 a month, Alicia. You pledge that for a couple of years, you put that in, and then, you know, something happens at the football club where we get the opportunity to, you know, buy 1%. You can't have a say unless you're a member of the trust. Do you think that's fair? Do you think it's fair that you've pledged in all that money but you don't have a say because you have to be a member of the trust? And for me, I didn't realise that until I read the finer details. So you've got to be a member. Is it not, is it not just a bit of a recruitment drive on their behalf?
Yeah, I think automatically if you're putting in monthly amounts of money, you should automatically be able to have your say. But then it brings in the point of people are going to start arguing. The more people you've got, the more people can argue with. So I suppose from their point of view, it cuts that out, and people that are going to be serious about it and want to actually, who are going to put their voice forward, are going to sign up to it. That's what they want to do. But I feel like if you're saying that you read that in the finer print, it should be out there. If you want to put your stuff forward, you have to sign up to this before you go into the finer details and read that you actually have to have both. I feel like it should be a lot clearer and a lot more open, and everybody knows what's going on.
I felt that they had slightly misled people as well by saying that you know, the potential new owners that we're hoping we're going to get, PIF, were for this, and you know, there's no proof of that, and they've had to backtrack on that. But yes, I haven't publicly backtracked on it, so it's interesting to see that. But look, that's the negatives. The positive is for me that, you know, they've set it up. It took 3 years to get to this stage. It's something I was fully aware of. I'd spoken to the guys about it when I was on the trust myself for that short period of time. And for me, I think if the only thing that comes of it is a huge donation to local charities, then I'm all for it on that set. But I have said, and I'll continue to say, I won't support it I won't support it financially, because I do support a lot of charities in my Freemasonry work anyway. So for me, that's my stance. What about you, Holly?
I think that it's a good idea that they're doing this. I admire them for what they're trying to do, getting the best for the club, which is something that we all want. But I won't be backing it personally in terms of finance and stuff, just because I don't think for me it's been well thought out enough. It seems like I know that you've said that they've obviously been planning this for 3 years, but it just seems like there's something they've done really quickly, because there's so many problems that's arrived with it already. The fact that obviously if the sale doesn't go through, then there won't be buying the percentage of the club. They're only going to buy that for new owners, but it's not guaranteed that that's going to happen. So would you not wait for the sale to go through before you'd start this whole pledge thing? And then also it's like 1%, that is going to cost about £3.5 million, which for Newcastle fans is a lot of money to raise, and I don't think it's very realistic. And also 1%, it's not going to make too much of a difference. And then it is going to drive a wedge between supporters even more of who is going to get on the board. And then some people will be like, well, I've donated more money than you have. And it'll just end up with all these stupid arguments. And I'd love to see us get more of a voice in the club because we haven't had that for so long now, and I think we do need it, but I just don't think it's the right way to go about it. I admire the fact that they've appointed the likes of Warren Barton and things to look after the money, but I'm surprised that those people took it on, to be honest, because it just seems like such an unthought out thing for me. I really don't get why they would do that and not contact the potential owners as well, because they haven't even agreed that they will be willing to sell that 1%. I mean, I'm pretty convinced that the Saudis will want the 80%. And then, of course, 10% for the Rubens and 10% for Amanda Staveley. They wouldn't really want to drop to that 9% because that's like a very, very small share, and they'll want to have an even share. That's kind of the way they wanted to work out the consortium. So I just don't think it's going to work personally, but best of luck to them.
I think Holly's made a great explanation of it there. Dave Spillet's put up what Keith said as well on Friday night's Three Amigos. Well worth a watch on the playlist. Keith from NCSL always has his finger on the pulse. He's a very clever businessman. And he says Keith's explanation on Friday suggests the fans won't get a 1% stake because of the 10% requirement needed to get on the board. So that rules out PCP and the Rubens, and PAF won't want to give up 80%. NUST always have a place at the table because that was the whole reason it was changed from a supporters club to a supporters trust. Because a supporters trust now, they're more respected, but they have to have a meeting with the club, so they will always have a seat at the table. The supporters trust. It's an interesting one. It's something which we'll debate more and more on here, and we'll watch with interest. £50,000 was the last total I saw. Maybe it's higher than that now. As I say, great idea. If the money's going to go to charity, if this doesn't work out, then great. If Newcastle dropped to the levels of Sunderland and things went horribly wrong and we ended up with another bad owner after Mike Ashley, and the club hit an all-time low, then there's money there to potentially make a difference and to buy yourself a position on the board, and it will be a lot cheaper. And if Newcastle had managed to reach the heady heights of £3 million or £3.5 million, and the club was a lot cheaper, maybe say 15 million, we could buy a bigger share. That's the difference. So yeah, look, we'll watch it. It'll be interesting to see what happens over that. I'm sure we'll talk about it on the show throughout the year. Yes, Bez, who was on the show on Friday from the Happy Mondays as well, his horse refused to race today. Could only happen to Bez, that. It really could. Let's look ahead, of course, to the match at the weekend. We've already touched on it, Lily. Newcastle take on West Ham at St James's Park. This coming Saturday, another early kickoff, 12:30. God, I'm sick of these lunchtime kickoffs. I'm a creature of habit. That's when I have my dinner and plays all kinds of hell with me, that kind of thing. But we've got West Ham. They're really playing well. They've been a surprise team this season. Not much to say at the moment about the game. We know that Lascelles, Isaac Hayden and Fabian Shaw will all be out, and that Ryan Fraser's doubtful. Declan Rice and Mikel Antonio are both still on the injured list for West Ham United. No confirmation of referee or VAR at the minute. We do know that it's going to be live on Sky Sports. So, how do you see that game going? Bearing in mind that we're on a little bit of a run now.
I know. I'd like to think maybe we're going to go into this positively, and we possibly are going to give them a run for the money and not make it too easy for them. But West Ham have been a shock for me this season. It's been you would never have thought they'd be where they are. And I think they've done really well. But I'm hoping that, like I said, we've got us scoring boots on now, so hopefully we can keep it up and, we can win this week. Unfortunately, I can't watch it again this weekend because I'm actually at work again. So I shall be waiting for the announcements coming through on my watch as everybody goes mad on Twitter about what happens or what have you. But I'm hoping we win. I think we might do because West Ham seems to be quite comfortable where they are at the moment. It just depends if you catch them on a good day or not. But like I said, we've got us scoring boots on now, so hopefully that'll carry us on and we'll do a good performance. Who knows?
Prediction, Lily?
I'm gonna cop out and say 1-0, just because I think it's going to be easy. 1-0 to us.
1-0 to us. Okay, that's a positive though. Okay, Alicia, what about you?
I think it's going to be good that I'm at work because I don't think I could sit through watching that absolute bag of nerves. But I don't know. I feel like West Ham are going to want to solidify where they are, and I don't feel like they're going to want to chuck away European football, considering how well they've done this season. It will be a massive shame for them if you're looking at it from their point of view. If you're looking at it from our point of view, we have strung a few good results together. We did beat them earlier on in the season. You know, we turn up for the big games. That's what we do. So if Steve Bruce sees that as a big game, we'll turn up. I'm going to be a bit more optimistic, I think, than what I thought I was going to be. And I'm going to go for a 1-1. It could go horribly wrong and Jesse Lingard could just tear through a midfield. But I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Okay. And Holly, what about you?
Like I said before, I think we will win. I think that we're going to give West Ham a bit of a shock. And of course, like, I think West Ham's been brilliant. I mean, of course they have. They're in the Champions League spots, which no one would ever have thought. We've managed to beat them once this season. Why can't we do it again? And I'm very happy that his name's completely left my head.
Who?
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice.
Yeah, I'm very happy that Declan Rice isn't going to be playing that game because I don't like playing against Declan Rice. I think that he's always got a goal against us and I just don't like him being in the squad. So I think that'll be an advantage for us. And if Steve Bruce puts out the right team, a good attacking formation, I don't want to see us play 5 at the back. And I'd like to see, obviously, St. Maximin start and maybe Wilson. Then I don't see any reason why we can't win. And I was going to go like Lily with a 1-0, just something narrow, but actually I'm going to go for 3-2. I think it's going to be a bit of an exciting game.
Yeah,
Nice.
You know what? I do think it's going to be an exciting game as well. I'm going to hang fire on my prediction until I see what team comes out. But yeah, great stuff. Quick promotion for your channel, Lily, what you and Dom do and where people can find you.
So you can find us on #9Talk or #9Talk Extra Time. Not done it for a bit, but we're hoping to get back in the swing of things in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's where you can find us.
Fantastic. And of course, Alicia, you do your own stuff as well. So do you want to give that a bit of a plug?
Yep, as always, just my name, Alicia, then FC on YouTube, and you'll find us on Twitter and everything as well.
Good stuff. And Holly, anything to promote from your end?
Not at all, just my Twitter, HollyBlade05, but apart from that, nothing.
Yeah, and well done. You went on Paul's show last week as well. A bit of a, as usual, social media causing absolute issues for no reason at all. But you did really well on there last week, and just give Paul a shout out as well because he was good enough to come out and put a few wrongs right, if you like.
Yeah, that was a great show. We got a brilliant reception for that. And if you haven't watched it, please do. We filmed it last Thursday. It's on the Toon Review. And of course, thanks to the support, Steve, and everyone else that sent lovely messages on Twitter. Much appreciated. Yeah,
good stuff. Okay, as always, great to have you on, ladies, and looking forward to getting you on next week. Hopefully another win. Who knows? As I said earlier, live shows back on Thursday, but I have done 2 pre-records. So tomorrow night, join me and Liam Kennedy. We were taking your questions that you submitted on Twitter, and that starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Wednesday night, join me, George and Neil Mitchell, Steve Wilkinson and Steve Hasty when we talk our way through games gone by between Newcastle United and Luton Town. That again is on Wednesday night. Thursday night, I'm back live with Supermac and John Gibson, taking your questions and making our way towards the weekend and looking forward to Newcastle United's game against West Ham. No 5-minute rant this week. In fact, we didn't really want to get ourselves into a ranting situation when it's been such a positive weekend. So we're not having one this weekend. Plus, I've had to record 3 shows on the belt today. So I'm going for a lie down in a darkened room and putting Coronation Street on. Thanks for everybody in the chat. And girls, take care. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back.